is generously sponsored by .com and the VeriSign and the company behind .com, a company named VeriSign that sort of operates the .com domain. As most of you are probably familiar with, .com is sort of the most universally used TLD, the top level domain, so sort of what comes after the dot. There are other alternatives out there, but you see like the most sort of respected brands in the world use .com, and that's for a good reason, because and that's what I've been using for my companies as well. It's sort of universal, right? It doesn't matter what type of company you're building, what type of organization, if it's a nonprofit or if it's a small business, if it's a large company, you want to try to get the .com. So later on today, we'll talk about the importance of having a powerful online presence, and we're going to talk about how to sort of get a great .com for your business and how to register that. Okay, let me know, Christina, if I'm not sharing the slides properly here. Hopefully.
They look great.
Okay, awesome. Good. So in today's workshop, I will be one of your humble hosts. My name is Henrik, and I'm from Denmark originally, hence the strange accent you might be able to spot. I came to Silicon Valley in 2010 to become part of the startup ecosystem here in the Bay Area. As you know, there are a lot of cool new tech companies popping up here on a daily basis. So I wanted to learn more about building scalable companies. I've started 5 companies on my own with various degrees of success. Some of them have failed massively, and some of them have been moderately successful. And I'm excited to share some of the things I've learned along the way, and hopefully share a few tips that can help you avoid making some of the mistakes that I made getting started. And today I run a company called Startup Experience, where we teach entrepreneurship around the world. I work with entrepreneurs in 25 countries or so. I help larger companies like Twitter and Microsoft and Intel and Johnson & Johnson and Lego and other large companies become more innovative. So it turns out, even whether you want to start your own company or you want to become what we call an intrapreneur, having this entrepreneurial mindset and the process, the tactics, the tool sets, the skill sets to become an effective problem solver is really important, no matter what career path you choose, right? So that's why entrepreneurship is so valuable, really, to all of us. And then I teach entrepreneurship at a number of different sort of large universities. I'm also an investor now, so we invest in early stage companies. So if some of you have a great idea, please let me know, and we can see if we can send a check your way. With me on the virtual stage here is my good friend and partner in crime, Christina Hug, who is joining us from Toronto in Canada. And Christina, introduce yourself and say hi.
Hi, everyone. Really nice to be here. I'm always really excited to talk about landing pages and digital marketing. I've been working in tech with startups for about the last 10 years. And this is my happy place. So I'm going to be, my role in this is I'm going to show you a little bit about Unbound. So I'm going to be talking about different examples and ways that you can make your landing page not only stand out, but convert. And so happy to be here, and back to you, Henrik.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yes. And so I will essentially spend a few minutes just getting us all up to speed on what is a startup and what does it mean to be an entrepreneur and have an entrepreneurial mindset, and talk a little bit about the startup process and where in that startup process it's relevant to talk about landing pages and running A/B tests and things like that. So that is essentially the goal. And so to get us started, why is it even important to talk about entrepreneurship? Well, it's important because we're all standing right here. Like, if you ask most futurologists, people like Ray Kurzweil, who has like the world record for most accurate future predictions, who is looking at some of the current tech trends and then try to extrapolate what impact those technologies will have for the future society in 2030 or 2050. They all agree that we're standing right here, right in front of this like explosion of radical change, which will impact all companies, all industries, the way we live our lives, the way we communicate. And it is, of course, because of this fourth industrial revolution and all these exponential technologies that are just changing all these different industries. And of course, then you throw in something like COVID-19 and you have an even more volatile situation, which has been extremely challenging. And most people, most companies out there, they look at this and they are terrified. Am I right? Like they don't like change. People generally don't like change, and companies that are operating today in a world where they're making money with the status quo, they don't like this kind of disruption because it means that everything is changing. But for the people who have the entrepreneurial mindset, who are ready to identify new opportunities and take advantage of those, this is very exciting because a lot of new things are going to happen, and this represents an enormous amount of opportunities for the entrepreneurs. So we'll talk about entrepreneurship and why that's so important for the world to become a better place, and then some of the hacks you can apply to become as effective as possible. But before we sort of dive into this, most importantly, we would love to hear a little bit about who are you. So I understand that in the room today, we have people from different sort of stages in life. Some of you are students, some of you are professionals, some of you are working full-time on your startups. We'd love to hear a little bit from you in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself, we have time for that as well. If you have a specific topic you would like us to address in today's workshop, love to hear about that. I'm sure you can sort of identify yourself to different stages and just share a little bit about in the chat, like who do we have who's like entrepreneur. So maybe you're a student who haven't yet sort of fully decided whether you want to join this crazy entrepreneurial roller coaster ride. Maybe we have some real entrepreneurs who are in the midst of starting a new business. Would love to hear about from you and what you're working on. I'd like to hear whether you are practicing the lean startup method right now, if that's something you're familiar with. Have you built websites already? And if so, have you run any A/B tests, or also called split tests? So share a little bit about yourself in the chat here. We'd love to hear sort of where you're at today, or if some of you want to unmute and just tell us about who you are and what you're working on right now, and also why you joined this workshop, what you're hoping to get out of it. Anyone feel like sharing?
I can start. I'm probably the youngest one here.
Hey, Vivek. Yeah.
Hi. I'm graduating in 3 weeks. So I'm an industrial engineering major. I go to Texas A&M. I'm actually originally from San Diego. So I'm really looking to make a workforce and talent management platform for hotels. So I've been working on that for about 2 months, and yep, want to start fundraising once I graduate, but got to worry about finals so far. Yep, glad to be here. Thank you. Always here to learn from others.
Awesome, staying busy. Thanks for sharing, and yeah, congrats on graduation coming up soon. So you're planning on, since you're jumping straight into going full on a startup?
Yeah, I'm joining Bank of America in July, but I'm trying to quit my job before I start. So yeah.
That's amazing. We'll make sure not to send this recording to your future boss. Awesome, cool. TJ or Tim?
I'll take it next. Yeah.
Hey, TJ.
I'm TJ Falvin. I'm also a student at Texas A&M. I'm a PhD student, and I've been working on entrepreneurship for a while, but now I'm working on a project where we're building a digital platform to assist family caregivers for individuals who suffer from dementia. So those who take care of them, we're building a platform to connect them with local resources and provide personalized assistance. So yeah, that's where we're at. We just finished our MVP, and we are essentially going to go after early adopters now. So
that's amazing. That's a very exciting stage.
Yeah, very early stage. Yeah.
So you've done a bunch of customer interviewing, and you have some early adopters who are interested.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just getting ready to onboard them.
The website in the chat, so it's super early, and looking to learn a lot more.
Fantastic. And thanks, Rita, for sharing a little bit about your background. Cool. Anyone else wants to? Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm coming from Europe. So my background a bit, I have both French and Austrian nationalities, but I'm studying in Barcelona, Spain. And yeah, so business student so far. I'm doing right now my internship in a venture builder of startups, and I have as well my own project. So right now a bit on standby. So yeah, super excited about the workshop because I did a landing page already. Some challenge to drive a good traffic on it. So yeah, super excited about it. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's good to hear. Fantastic. Well, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. And what I've actually also created for us today, and I'll share that link right now, because I figured this is a great place to meet like-minded startup founders. So I'm just sharing a link right now to a Miro board that I've created. Miro is a digital whiteboarding tool. It looks like this. And in here, if you haven't used Miro before, there's sort of two different modes. So initially, you might have a hand as a cursor. You see people are popping in here. And when you have the hand, it's like in viewing mode, so you can interact with the elements. So you need to click this mouse icon here, and then you can sort of zoom in and out. You can either do that by using the plus and minus sign down here to the bottom, or you can just like use your trackpad and sort of pinch your fingers in and out. So in here, you can grab one of these notes and you can double click on that and introduce yourself here on the board. You can drop a couple of pictures from your desktop, just drag into Miro. You can talk a little bit about where you live, and if you're looking for a co-founder or what kind of idea you're working on. And then I have a few sort of fun games here. You can rank your level of confidence regarding starting a business, just getting used to a Miro. And again, here you can mark some of these, and then you can drag it wherever you want to drag it onto the scale. You can also use copy paste, so you can mark an element and then Control C, Control V. Here you can introduce your startup. So you can take a sticky note, you can move it out, double click on the sticky, and then you can share your website URL, for example. And then we can go check it out. We can give you a little emoji thing if we think it's cool, and so on and so forth. And at the bottom here, I'm just going to call you all down to me here. Zip. Is questions and topics you'd like us to cover today. So this is a great place. You can certainly post your questions in the Zoom chat. We'll monitor that. But here you can also just grab one of those stickies and move it over, and then write your question here. Right, so you just grab one of those. You can also make extra stickies on this left-hand side panel. Click on the sticky note, click on the column you want, and then click where you want it. And then again, you have a sticky. So just double click on these to act for that. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about Miro. It's totally optional. You don't have to use it. But for those of you who want to meet each other, you can play around with that. Okay, let's see here. Where's my chat? Cool. So I figured I'll spend just a few minutes talking a little bit about the lean startup method and sort of the startup journey. Some of you will be very familiar with these topics, but just to get everyone up to speed on what is this traditional sort of startup path and what are we trying to accomplish, because that will be relevant for us to just all be on the same page and just what we're trying to accomplish with these landing page design or landing pages in general. So yes, here's our Miro board. So question for you, what is a startup? And is it different from any sort of traditional large company? Many people might think of a startup as simply a small version of a big company. But in reality, startup is something completely different. When you're starting a brand new company, everything is uncertain. You don't know what you're doing because you don't really know your customer. You don't really know what problem they have that you can solve. You don't know really what product or service will satisfy the need for those customers. You don't know what price point will be best. You don't know what channels you're going to use to reach those customers. Like everything is uncertain, right? And that's what makes entrepreneurship such an extreme sport. And many people think that it's like this straightforward path. You come up with an idea, raise a couple $1 million, and then you have a big successful company. That's never what happens, right? It's always a matter of like pivoting, changing the idea. And really what you're trying to want to optimize for in the beginning is learning, right? We want to learn as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And that is what this workshop is about today. We want you to be able to go through this process of experimenting and figuring out so you can get to product market fit. So you might have come across this sort of startup curve visualization. I borrowed it from Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, a famous startup accelerator, where he talks about how your sort of happiness level develops over time. And initially, when you come up with an idea and you want to start your business, everyone's very excited, right? Congratulations, Vivek, you're following your passion. You're going to change the world. And it's so exciting. And then what happens pretty much inevitably on day two, you think, it goes down, right? Because now you realize that nobody wants to work with you on your stupid startup project, and it's going to cost way more money than you anticipated. And the problem you thought was a big problem is actually maybe not that big of a deal. And then you enter what we call the trough of sorrow. And that is what some of you are about to enter right now. Sorry to sort of get you down here, but you're about to enter this trough of sorrow where you are desperately trying to find out what it is you need to build in order to satisfy the need for the customers. And through this process, we want to do a ton of experimentation. We want to test our problem market, our problem hypothesis, like our problem market fit, like is the problem we think is a problem actually a problem? We need to test our solution market fit, right? Is the idea for a product or service that we have really relevant for our customers? And we need to test our price point, our channels, our, all of those different things has to be tested. We want to go through this and do this really fast. So hopefully you're able to go through this. Many startups die in this process, right? Because they run out of money, they run out of motivation. A lot of things can happen. They start fighting with their co-founders, but hopefully not you. Because you've taken this workshop and you're smart about the way you launch a company. So eventually you figure out something starts working. Right? This is interesting. Oftentimes it's something else than we actually expected would work, but something starts working. People keep coming back, right? And this is what happened with YouTube, with Instagram, with like an infinite amount of PayPal, with other, like many of the most successful companies today, they started out doing something different. But then they figured out that one of the features they were launching with Instagram, the photo filter sharing element, right? Or with Twitter, it was not their podcast that worked, but this like short form communication stream that tended to take off. And then you find that product market fit, and then everything changes, right? And now it becomes about scaling that business. It becomes really easy to raise money because all the investors come to you. It's like, please let me invest in your company because you're kicking ass and doing amazing work. Great. So that's sort of this startup journey. And what we want to help you do is go through this process here a lot faster, spending less money and getting to product market fit faster. So a startup is really a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable model. And that is what we're trying to do. We are searching for answers. Initially, you might have a business model. You map out your business model in a business plan. I hope you're not doing that, but you should map it out in a business model. But then what you realize is really what we have here is a list of guesses. And the process for you is now to go through what we call the lean startup method. You should read the Lean Startup book by Eric Ries if you haven't done that yet. Another excellent book to check out is this one here called Testing Business Ideas. I can send you there's a free PDF to download on their website if you're interested. But the Lean Startup method sort of dictates, and this is a framework that has been adopted by millions of entrepreneurs, and for good reason, because it allows you to learn really quickly, right? So you don't risk building a product that no one wants. That's what we want to avoid. We want to build a product no one wants. So we want to learn about from customers, come up with a good idea, and then build what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product. We send that out to customers. We get some data. We can learn from that. We come up with a new idea, and then you go through this process over and over again until we have product market fit, right? And we don't want to start spending money on sales and advertisement before we have product market fit, because we're essentially targeting maybe the wrong people or selling the wrong type of product or using the wrong price point. So there are a lot of uncertainties. So there are many different ways of testing. The first thing you should always do is go do 20 interviews and see if you can start seeing a pattern, right? Did you validate that the problem you think is a problem is a real problem? You can get a ton of insights from interviewing. Usually you learn more in a 5-minute conversation with a customer than you will spending 5 hours in the conference room. So get out there, even with a half-baked idea, and just talk to your customers. The next thing you can do, or like another way to do this, is a simulation experiment. So you can try to manually provide the type of solution you ultimately want to automate to just see if this type of service works. So for example, we heard an example earlier, I'm not sure I got the exact details, but you're looking at like these caretakers and help optimize some workflow for them. So along those lines, for example, if I was trying to build a service to provide some kind of help for senior citizens, so like a and Uber for caretaking for seniors, right? Maybe just for cleaning service. Then instead of trying to arrange with 100 different cleaners and put them on your platform and have some sophisticated booking system and nice app, you can just do it super manually, right? You can just launch a website and then send it out to the senior community locally in the nursing home. It's like, hey, if you need cleaning, just call me, right? And then you go out and you provide this type of service for the first 10 customers. Of course, it's not scalable, but you're doing it manually to learn what the process is like. And in that process, you will get so many valuable insights. What we'll talk about today is a type of experiment that allows you to pre-sell your product before you build it. And this is something that I've really done with my companies, that I always try to sell it before I build it. And today, for entrepreneurs, there's so many amazing tools available for us where we can actually present the product offering to our potential customers before we have built the actual product. And you know this from like crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So if you're building, there's a consumer style type product, like Better Back here was founded by a friend of mine, Catherine Krug, who had back pain. And then she came up with this idea of this like pouch you can put behind your lower back and then in front of your knees, and it will sort of straighten yourself up. And she raised $1.2 million on Kickstarter before she even built the final product, right? Or the guys with these electric skateboards, boosted boards and one wheel, where they didn't know if people would be willing to spend $1,500 on an electric skateboard. So they put it up on Kickstarter, and then they sold over $500,000 worth of these boards before they built the final version. And if you have this kind of traction, if you have this kind of social proof and validation from your customers, it's so much easier to go back to an investor and say, hey, we thought it would be cool to build an electric skateboard. We knew they're going to be expensive, so we wanted to test if people want to buy them. And now we already have, $500,000 worth of pre-sales. Do you want to invest? Like, it's a very powerful value prop. Another way, or another example, is how Dropbox with Drew Houston put up an MVP in the form of a video demo of the functionality of Dropbox. He put it up on different hacker forums, and he got 75,000 people to sign up like in a day. And again, with that kind of validation, he could go to investors and say like, hey, I had this idea, I thought it was cool, but it turns out a lot of other people think it's cool. So let's do this. So I'm going to go back and monitor the chat here and essentially throw it over to you, Christina. I'm just going to jump off here for a second to see if anything has popped up in terms of questions for this, or if we're all sort of in agreement. Okay, cool. Any questions sort of at this point? Okay, I know that was super fast, but I just wanted us all to sort of get up to speed on where does this landing page type experiment work, and why are we talking about it? Tim, did you have a question? No, you just looked engaged. Okay, awesome. Great. Over to you, Christina.
All right. Thank you, Henrik. So we're going to get into a little bit around what is a landing page and why would you use one. And so a landing page, Henrik kind of talked a little bit about some of the use cases you might have for it, but essentially it's a standalone website that is usually tied to the outcome of a marketing or advertising campaign or some form of campaign where you're trying to direct a specific call to action or CTA. And so a lot of times when people are advertising something, you don't want to send them directly to your homepage because homepages are built to allow you to explore. There's lots of different options there. You want people to be directed really clearly and sort of bound through the existing funnel that you would like them to go down. They can also be used for lead magnets, which we'll get into when we're building our own landing pages. So essentially, that's something where you would be offering something like a piece of content in exchange for someone's email. So a lot of times, like, why are emails so important? We want to have the money. We want people buying things. Email means that you're able to nurture that contact and bring them through an automated marketing funnel and give them more information. Also means if you're collecting a list, you can create lookalike audiences for your ads, and it can mean just a more targeted experience altogether. So I'm going to show you some examples of landing pages and some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we are also going to jump into Unbounce in just a second. So this, the next two things that I'm going to show you are good examples of the anatomy or components of a landing page. So the biggest thing that people talk about when designing for the web is above or below the fold. And essentially that comes from newspapers, where it used to be the front page that was sort of above the fold, or the part of the front page that was underneath when the newspaper was folded. This is the entirety of this landing page. It is one
You're not
single...
sharing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It says I'm sharing.
Oh, really?
I can see.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
you
can
can
see it.
Okay, I just can't see
It's
it.
not for you, Henrik. So this is from Marketo. It has a very clear sort of call to action of what they want you to do. They want you to download their guide. And so you are able to put in your information, which they are excited to have, because then they can remarket to you. And in exchange, they'll give you their definitive guide of digital advertising. So this is all that exists. There's nowhere else for you to go. If you ended up here by clicking on an ad, this is the only thing that you can do. Another example is with Remarkable. So this page always makes me laugh. It is their main homepage, but if you can see the slider on the side as I'm scrolling, this is an epically long homepage. And the problem with that, I mean, the single scroll homepage is like the new trend of what everybody wants to have. This is very long. And the issue is, as I'm going, I have buttons that let me see how it works. But ever since I've started scrolling from the top, and I am still scrolling, this is still one page, I can no longer click the buy now button. I have another see how it works button, but my option, see how it works, my option to buy only comes back when I go to scroll back up the page because of how their navigation is set. And so this is a very information-based page. It's probably been tested and they're doing it for a reason, but it is not super high on targeting conversions, because yet again, and I'm going to get finally all the way down, and there's no buy now button at the bottom until I start scrolling back up. And there's also no back to top button, which is a little annoying because you have to go through the whole thing again. So thinking about the user experience and about what it is you want that action to be is really important when you're thinking through your web design. Another quick example I'll give you of just how it can be a little bit targeted. This is an example from Casper Mattresses. And so this is their homepage. There's a lot of stuff you can do here. You can shop different mattresses. You can look at reviews. You can see different benefits. You can watch videos. There's bedding and pillows and gifts and resources, a lot of things for your mouse click, a lot of places for your mouse click to go. When I clicked on an ad that was talking about their weighted blanket, it took me to this page. So we're really getting into the deeper link of being able to just, if you're convinced by that ad, we're not going to take you anywhere else or make you think. We're going to give you the option to add it to your cart. Another thing they were advertising was through Facebook was their comparison with a competitor. So this brought me directly to this page. And this is another example of landing pages. Maybe it's not to convert traffic. Maybe your product needs that educational landing page as well. But the key for a landing page is to get them directly to the information that you want them to get to. These aren't the best examples because they are pages that are still built within the website. So if I wanted to, I could go up to the nav bar and play around there. And so the goal is to be as simple as humanly possible. So within that, oh, right. Another thing that I wanted to share, and I can post this in the chat as well, is the Facebook ads library. So if you're thinking about doing an ad campaign, and I'll post this in the chat too. So if you're thinking of doing an ad campaign to get traffic to your website, this is a great resource. You can go in and you can search all the ads and see what your competitors' ads are doing. So if you want to know if you should be doing something more like what Casper was doing, you can go to their page and you can see all the active ads that they have right now. And it's a great way to look at like what copy works for them, where they're posting them, and you can see everything that's active and how they're doing it. So it's a great way to think about when you're doing that top of funnel work for your landing page. So within this, we're going to hop into Unbounce, and we're going to do a bit more of like best practices around landing pages by getting into the core of it. So if you're logged into, oh, Henrik.
Yeah, and just maybe a quick note sort of on Unbounce and why we're using that.
Mm-hmm.
So over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, it's become so much easier, right, to build a powerful online presence. Partly because you no longer need a whole lot or even any type of coding experience to build a highly functional and really good looking website. Right, so WordPress has made it really easy to build any kind of website. But then recently, I've actually moved away from WordPress with my sort of businesses, and now using something called Webflow, which is really powerful. Many of you probably have experience with Wix, which is another sort of website creator content management system that just allows you to sort of drag and drop different boxes, double click on elements, change the structure of the page and change the text, add in images and things like that. So you can create a really good looking website in a very simple way. And so the way sort of website builders differ from what we're going to show you today is that Unbounce is a dedicated landing page creation tool. So it's meant to create these landing pages that don't have all the navigation. It doesn't have all those, like a complete sort of company website for you. It's just meant for you to enable you to test a certain type of product offering and see if that product offering is appealing or not to your customers. And what's cool about Unbounce is that it has this A/B testing, split testing capability built into the tool, so that once you created one version of your landing page, of your web page for this particular product, you can immediately copy that, and now you have a version 2. And then you can tweak a tiny little element of that page, and then you can see which one works the best. Like, what is the optimal price point? Should I have a green background instead of an orange background? How does that affect my conversion? So that when you start getting traffic to these pages, and we'll show you how this works. But Unbounce is one example, is like the most powerful one we've come across. There's other tools like Lead Pages. It's also one called Instapage. And those tools have this like A/B testing or split testing capabilities built into the tool. So it makes it really easy to run these experiments. And that's why you want to run it on those types of platforms instead of just on your Webflow or on your Wix page or on your Shopify. Even doesn't actually have that kind of A/B testing built into it. So you should all have been invited to Unbounce now, and essentially can set up a free account there and start playing around with your page. Christina will show us how to sort of get started, because it helps just to get a quick intro to this, and then you'll have some time to actually create your page. So yeah, back over to you, Christina. I just wanted to add that context.
Thank you, Henrik. So if you are logged into Unbounce, you'll probably be pointed to this page where you're looking at all the pages that you may have created. And since you haven't created one yet, we're going to go to Create New. So we're going to walk through an example of how to make a sample page, because once we do this, all the functionality of what you might do for your own pages would be the same. So we're going to click on Create New, and you'll see all these templates that exist. And when you click on one of them, you'll be able to scroll through and sort of see what it looks like, see if it has the functionality you're looking for. They have some that are for lead generation. They have some that are for events or for apps specifically. For the purposes of today, we are actually going to go with the fresh goods one, if we all want to be within the same one. And our product that we're building a landing page for is a pet GPS. And so this is a GPS collar to help you track your pet. And it's just a random product that we are going to create together. So I'm going to call this page Pet GPS, where you choose a name at the bottom. And I've selected the fresh goods template, and it's okay that it is food related. We will be making this and modifying this for our own. And we're going to start with this template, clicking the blue button on the bottom. Once we get into here, we're in the Unbounce Builder, and I'm going to walk you through the different sections that exist for this. But essentially, we have our template here in the middle in the canvas. On the left-hand side, you have all the things that you could add to your page. So you could add a section, some text, an image, a button, a form, which we'll be doing later. And you can customize your page to look and feel sort of any way that you want to. On the right-hand side, you'll see the properties of anything you have highlighted. So if I am clicking this background image, I can see all the information about that image, or I can click in the text and I'll see all the information about the text. I can see the alignment, the paragraph, the color, the font, and make any edits there. What we love about Unbounce is the ease of editing. And so we're not Fresh Goods, which is their logo. We don't have a logo yet for Pet GPS. So I'm just simply going to select it and press delete, and it will go away. I do want to change this lovely picture of food, which is making me quite hungry, but I want to change it for something more relevant. So I'm going to click on the background image, and under background, I'm going to change my image. And my images, I sort of cheated because I was testing this earlier, so I already have one here, but you probably, I'll remove this, and you probably are seeing that you don't have any images within this spot. But the great thing about Unbounce is that they are connected to Unsplash images, which are royalty free. So you can simply type in dog, and you can choose from any of these images and stock photos that you might want to use. So here's this friendly pup walking across the grass. And we're just going to select it, press choose, and it automatically gets put into our design. Also with Unbounce, they sort of prompt you with these templates as to what they want you to be putting in each section. So I'm just going to rephrase this as Pet GPS, and I want to press bold in my property menu just to make it a little more clear and get rid of this extra space. You can move elements around just by clicking and dragging. This one goes over the mouth a little bit, so I can change the formatting and I can move my button around. So these are some quick sort of things to look at. We're going to get into it a bit more detail. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about with landing pages specifically, and I love that Unbounce does this, is it has a specific spot for benefits and then a specific spot for features, because these are very distinct things and something that a lot of people get very wrong when making their landing pages. So we're going to talk a little bit before we go too much further with Unbounce about the sort of role that your copy can play in how you're talking about yourself. So there's two exercises that we're going to do here. The one is what we call the we test. And so if you have an existing web page that you use, and any place that you're talking about yourself, the test is to use Command F or Control F to find and search for everywhere you use the word we to describe your company or your services, instead of putting the user and your customer in the forefront as the protagonist. And so I'm going to show you examples of how this plays out, because once you see it, it happens all the time on people's web pages.
Just before you jump into that, Christina,
yeah.
I just want to make sure everyone is up to speed here, because we want this to be, and you talk very fast, and there's a lot of stuff to cover here, and we do want to cover a lot of things, but just want to make sure that Unbounce is working for everyone. Yes? Were you able to get on and actually create a page? Okay, cool. Good to hear, Sam. Because let us know. We can also stop just for a few minutes, so you can just actually have a chance to get onto the tool, create a page, and just like play around. Because as all other tools, it just takes a little getting used to the navigation and the functionality. In Unbounce, you will find that it's relatively intuitive. And also, I'll send you a link later on to there's a place called Workshops. I think it is unbounce.com. Yeah, here. Share that link here. Workshops.unbounce.com is a place where you can go in and get more of a deep dive into how to set up these pages, how to set up a good A/B test, what are the suggestions for different things you want to test and run A/B tests around. I just want to make sure we just add a little breathing room here. But is everyone is good? No questions at this point?
And
okay.
We will dive a little bit deeper into Unbounce after this little sojourn into copy editing. So thinking about the we concept versus how you're putting your customer as a protagonist. One example, this is a company that is a wedding photography company. And they describe themselves and their services as, we are a small, tight-knit team of image makers. Over the last 14 years, we have carefully built the Mango method, a proven approach to wedding photography that has led us to become the industry's gold standard. This approach is driven by the music that moves you, the cities that inspire you, the most importantly, your own unique story. Our style is timeless, cool, and has distinctly candid and cinematic approach. If I am a bride looking for my wedding photographer, I don't know what the Mango method is. I'm really excited that you're a bunch of image makers, but I don't really know if that means how you're going to show up at my wedding, how you're going to make me feel comfortable if I'm not a fan of being in front of the camera. Are you going to fit in with the vibe I have and understand my aesthetic? Because all I'm hearing about is your aesthetic. And so it's a way of, the way that they're presenting themselves is really focused on them versus the problem that people are looking to solve when they arrive at their website. And so we're going to get into that a little bit too, around the idea of painkiller language. And when you're really diving into how to not only promote yourself, but how to show yourself as a solution that solves the problems that your customer is facing. So another example of not so great copy would be Crafted New York. We make digital beautiful. Don't know what that means. These are the words we live by, and everything we do, every story we tell, every brand we build, every interaction we create must not only look beautiful, but has to feel and function beautifully too. Crafted to perfection. This is the top of, like, above the fold of this website, and it is just talking about them and their mission and vision statement. It's not telling me anything about me, about why I would choose them. Yes, they have some good examples of things, but if I'm here thinking I need to hire a brand studio, how do I know that these are the people that are going to solve my problem? Do they outsource things? Are they going to sit by my side and talk me through things? How are they going to bring me through the process? So a couple examples of good copy and how people are approaching it. One of my favorites is Basecamp. This above the fold messaging is 100% putting the user and the person who may give Basecamp a try at the forefront. So you have the before and after. Before Basecamp, you're wondering how you'll quickly transition your team to remote work. People are stressed, work feels scattered, projects are slipping, and it's tough to see and manage everything. After Basecamp, soon you'll be feeling like, hey, we got this. Everything will be organized in one place. Your team will be working together, even though they're apart, and you'll be on top of things, and a sense of calm will set in. So they're understanding that they're not just a tool that can help you project manage. They're a tool that makes you feel calm at work. They're a tool that makes you feel like you're on top of your job and that your team is happy. Those are very distinct ways of, they're not putting themselves first, of being like, we're the most innovative app out there and we have these new features that we're so excited about. They're really getting into that emotional decision making, which is how a lot of purchases are honestly made. It's not from the logical side. Another one, which is like less safe for work, but is one that I really enjoy and really taps into the painkiller language. This is an app that silences your embarrassing notifications when you're screen sharing. So we've all experienced this at some point or seen it happen to someone where they haven't turned their notifications off. They have their previews on and something embarrassing starts coming through. This is something that keeps people up at night. And they're not only saying what they do, which they say quite well on the left-hand side, they are making you feel it. They are making you cringe by being on this website and showing the exact thing in motion of what you are trying to avoid. And just seeing these come across when you're sharing screen, I will tell you that it feels like it's yours. And so it's terrifying. And so they're really honing into that problem or pain point that people might be feeling. Okay, so with these in mind, when you're thinking about painkiller language, you also, if you're having a struggle, like sort of a hard time thinking about what their pain points might be or how you're going to get to that language, think about what are they facing right now? What are your customers trying to get done? What are they feeling? How do they want to feel in the future? Do they want to move faster? Do they want to feel accomplished? What are their actual goals and how are they going to feel after they use your product? Okay, so we're thinking about a pet GPS. And now we're talking about the benefits. So benefits is where you make it user-centric. This is where the user is the protagonist. What do they get out of it? It is always what you should lead with. And then there's room to put your features at the bottom. And this is where you can say how innovative your app is and all the cutting edge technology that you use. But up front, what does it mean for them? So with Pet GPS, and I'm going to make sure I have the chat open. With Pet GPS, what are some benefits you can think of? If you have a GPS tracker for your pet, how would you frame, and you can put it in the chat, how would you frame a benefit to a user who's thinking about purchasing a Pet GPS? What are they trying to get? There are no wrong answers. Safety, very good. Where is Fido? Exactly. Always have security. Love it. So some of those you could wrap up to the idea of peace of mind. So always knowing where they are, always having security, safety, traceability, track activity. So with traceability, that's a bit of a feature. And so what does it mean for the user to be a benefit, to track activity? Tracking activity is a good one. Avoid anxiety. Yeah. It could mean get reunited faster with trackability. And Henrik saying, yes, track activity. I'm gonna move this over. Get the dog to sleep at night. So yeah, tracking activity would also be something like take out the guesswork. A lot of folks don't know if their pets are getting enough exercise. They don't know if they're overweight. Like obviously the vet might tell them, but like they want to have something trackable. And so the subheadings to these can really elaborate on like what guesswork, but these are things that it's like, I want to stop worrying about my dog. Oh my goodness, what would happen if they ever got away? How would I get reunited with them? And am I a good dog parent? And are they like, how do I know that I'm doing an okay job? So this is tapping into that emotional side to things. And when we go down to features, this is where you might say something like washable design, which is something you would for sure want with something that was on your pet. And these are things that would come up, zoomies at 3 a.m. That is amazing. Cats are notorious for 3 a.m. zoomies, I have to tell you. Washable design, something like state-of-the-art technology. This is where you differentiate, and these key things around features will probably come up in customer interviews. And one thing about customer interviews, I don't know if most people already know it, but we didn't mention it yet, that how to do great interviews. The book, The Mom Test, is amazing and really helpful to know what questions are good questions or bad questions to make sure you're not getting a false positive of people basically being like, I love this idea, I would totally buy it, and then they don't. It's also something that you can solve with landing pages because you can create links for them to go to buy something and show that actual purchase intent, because a lot of people are just trying to be really nice to you and they don't want to tell you that you have a bad idea. So the Mom Test is a great book to read if you're going to be doing some of those interviews. So we have our features, we have our benefits. We also talked about the idea of potentially having like a lead magnet or a way to get emails. And right now, this site doesn't allow us to do that. It has a call to action again at the bottom, which is great, but we want to have some sort of offering of what we can provide to get emails, because that's a really important part for this. So what we're going to do is add a form. So you just grab it from the left, click and drag, and it allows you to design and show what you want to add to that. So I'm going to ask for first name and email, keep it super simple by just clicking on those, and then I press done. So this looks a little wonky, not exactly what I was going for with the design. I'm going to get rid of this order now button. And while I'm clicked on my form, I'm going to go into sort of that area on the right in the field attributes. So I'm going to make it 2 columns to make it a little horizontal and move that down. So this might be something like download your free pet health checklist. We can highlight it. We can edit things over here. Love a good bold. We're going to make it 2 lines. And you can also edit whatever's on your button. So things like learn more aren't really actionable. This should say something like download. We can say gimme, something that they know they're going to be getting what they're asking for. So I'm going to save this just to make sure that my elements save. So a fun thing about Unbounce is not only that you can preview it, but you can also make edits in mobile. So you might be seeing this little pop-up that says changes have affected the other view. And Unbounce lets you edit both views sort of individually. And so you can see how I might want to move this up for better readability in mobile. I'm going to move this over. Anytime you put something that's out of view, it's going to go red or grayed out. So you need to make sure it's within the boundaries that people can see it within their phones. I'm going to make sure that these are all lined up. And you just want to make sure that it looks great. Not all website builders allow you to do this on such a custom level. It's a really great feature from Unbounce. And the one thing I know has happened is that my form has gone all over the show. So the form needs to be 1 column to be on mobile. And you can do this here. We're going to make it a little smaller. So undo what we did. And you can make more space just by going to the section separator and moving it down. And then we have that. And so when you go back to desktop, it still looks the same. It still has how you wanted it. But on mobile, it actually has a better experience for that view. And of course, you can preview. So I'm going to save my changes.
Amy had a question too about how to make those boxes side by side that you demonstrated before you went in.
Oh, yeah. Great question. So when you're clicked on your form, on the properties on the right, this is your form properties. It could have edit form fields. If you scroll down a little bit here, you have field attributes. And you can change how many columns you have. So because we have 2 to make them side by side, I just made it 2 columns. You can also increase the height of your form if you want more space, potentially for if you think folks are going to be doing this on an iPad or mobile, you want to make the spaces big enough for their fingers to tap on it. You can change the spacing in between the elements and increase or decrease the font size within those elements. So there's a lot of fun little tinkering you can do here to make it look the way you want it to. And so I know it's hard to sort of, oh wait, I need to save it again. Once you're in this builder view, it's very easy to get kind of into the nitty gritty of things. But it's nice to be able to sort of zoom out and look at your preview, which you can click the eyeball in the top right. And it lets you see it more like a web page. So you can see how it would start to look and scroll through. And you can also switch over to mobile. So it puts it into sort of that mobile view, and you can see how it's feeling and how people might experience it. So always good to sort of test out and check within the preview. Oh, I went all the way back. Yeah, so this is, did we want to talk about variants, Henrik, or?
Yeah, but I think I want to give people a couple minutes just to play around with this and actually see if you can create a page and launch it. And I don't know how you feel, but I like a little competition. So I'm gonna throw in a 1-year free domain registration to whoever creates the best landing page here, publishes and shares it in the chat. Okay. So we'll talk about the registration and how to get that started in a few minutes. But whoever creates the most awesome looking landing page right now for our GPS tracker or for whatever other sort of startup you've started playing around with, publish your page and share it in the chat, and I'll reimburse the first year of your new .com domain registration. So we'll see how that goes. Can you show us how to actually publish the page, Christina?
Yeah,
Not sure if you went through that.
Okay, let me go back into, oops. Well, from your pages, you can press publish here, but I'm going to go into my pages area. And if I click on the name, I should go back into the editor. No.
Oh, you gotta scroll down, then you can see the editor.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Edit champion variant. So you can do it from your overview page.
I think that's actually the only way to do it.
Oh, right, because if it's not
Initially,
published.
you have to do it out there. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you go,
so
so from the editor, you click overview, top left corner.
Yeah.
And then you get out and you can see if you've created multiple pages, you can see it there. And then you click the publish button. And first you can change the URL. So right now you have an unbounce URL. So it's unbouncepages.com/whatever you wanted that to be. Obviously, once you are ready to run real professional sort of experiments, you probably want to have a custom URL. So whatever .com you've purchased, you can have the landing page go up on that. But for now, you can just operate it under unbouncepages.com/whatever URL, and then you just click publish, and now you're live. So for those of you who've never created a web page before, this is your chance to launch the first page, and it's live on the internet for anyone to see. So that's pretty cool.
Not terrifying at all.
Not terrifying at all. Yeah, I can go through and just demonstrate this dashboard here a little bit. Do you want me to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Get to see real data to make it make sense while people are building.
Yeah. And again, if anyone, I know you're playing around with this in the meantime, and I'm excited to see who's going to publish first and share their page. Okay, we're starting to see at least 5 pages up here on the dashboard so far. Cool. No visitors yet, no conversions yet. Okay, I'll share and just let you see here. I have way too many. I share sort of just an example of a page here. For example, this one that we sort of built in here too, the page some of you might actually have seen, or maybe not. But here is like a page we created for this workshop where you could go and register here. So you can see here is we have 140 visitors, 231 views, 51 conversions, which is a 33.46 conversion rate, which is very high. Don't expect such a high conversion rate, but this is because it's a free workshop and we're sending people to this page who are already interested. Yeah, so in the editor here, maybe I'll just demonstrate this A/B testing stuff that we mentioned before, right? So in the editor, once you've created a page that you like the look of, you can go up here and say, right now I'm editing this version A, okay? I could then create a duplication of variant A, which will become our new version B. So I just click that, create a duplication of variant A, and now I'm actually using version B instead. So for example, instead of saying launch your landing page in 120 minutes, maybe it should be like right now instead of 120 minutes, right? That's a little tweak. It seems like nothing, but maybe it would increase our conversion rate, right? Or if we had a price point for this workshop, I would be able to just change that price point to something else, depending on what it is we're trying to test. Or if we wanted to, maybe this color here should be red. And that would actually create a higher conversion. Like all these things, we just base it out of our gut feeling. But the whole idea of a landing page creator is that you don't need to sort of make those assumptions based on your gut feeling. You can actually do it based on real data. So now I've created my version B, and I'm gonna republish it. And now the cool thing is that I can go back to my dashboard. So now it's live, and you can see here it's actually I've connected a custom URL to this, right? So I've linked up this landing page 101.startupxp.com is the URL I'm using for this. So now you can see here page traffic mode. So I can send, like standard is send all your traffic to one page variant only. Okay, so now right now, if people go to this URL, landing page 101.startupxp.com, they all go to this variant A. But I can say, well, I actually want to run an A/B test now because I want to learn which one of these, whether I should change something on the page and get higher conversions. You can also have a smart traffic option where it will send you to the variant most likely to convert. So over time, it learns which one, but it still requires that you have multiple versions. So initially, you just want to run an A/B test, and then I can say I can add a variant. So now I'm gonna use this variant here. Okay, so now I can then change the traffic and say, well, I only want 50% of my traffic to go to this version and 50% of my traffic to go to version B. And so the system will automatically do this, right? And this is sort of like magic that if somebody types in that URL or they click on your ad from a social media page or from a Google ad or whatever it is, half of the visitors, half the people who click will automatically see version A, and half of the people will automatically see version B. We can try to, I'll republish this, publish the page, and then I'll share the link with you and we can see if it works. So now I'll share this link with you in the Zoom chat. And by the way, again, I know for some of you who've already been experimenting with landing pages, this might seem a little elementary, but we're going to build on this short and actually talk about traffic hacks and growth hacking and digital marketing in general. So now I just posted the link and you can try to click on it and see if you see version A or version B. It should be different. Now I opened up an incognito browser. And so I clicked on landing page 101.startupxp.com in my regular browser and it showed version A, and then I clicked an incognito window and now I'm seeing version B. So that works. So see, like here is my incognito, and the other one I clicked on showed me this. So it's working. So people don't know, of course, which one of the two landing pages they're seeing. They think that there's just this one version, but you are actually on the back end able to send people to different pages. And then we can start seeing how these pages convert over time. So an example of this.
I'm just going to hop in with Amy has a question around how this integrates if and when you're ready to have a more robust website. And one of the things I wanted to address is that you can have these as subdomains. So if you notice that it's landing page 101.startupxp.com, the root sort of web page is startupxp.com, and you can add in a subdomain to have anything that you want for a landing page. So that's a really great way to do it. You can also have it as hidden pages. So it would be / landing page 101, and that isn't something that is necessarily on your website publicly, but it's something you can direct people to and is a page that you own.
And essentially, this is not meant as an alternative to your company website. You still want to have startupxp.com as your company website, if that's the case, where you have a navigation bar, you have an About Us page, you have a contact form, you have all the other things you want people to be able to find about you and your business. But if you're trying to test a specific element of your company, if you're trying to test a specific product offering, or you want to try to test the price point for this product that you've had in the market for a while, setting up a new landing page without messing with your existing company product, like website, you can just run this just for that one product. And here you can see an example of another page I've had. This is on is the page called corporate.startupxp.com. So this is a different offering. It's where I'm offering workshops for large corporations on how they can boost their innovation capacity in the organization. I have a little video and blah, blah, blah. In this, on this page here, you can see that I did run an A/B test. I didn't have a ton of traffic here. We didn't run a lot of page ads, and it's a while ago. But nonetheless, I have version A and version B. And you see 50% of the traffic went to the different pages. And I can see version A Version A was running a little earlier, so they had more visitors. Otherwise, it would be exactly the same if I started out with both. But you can see here, there's different, they both have a couple of hundred views, but version A is converting significantly better, right? There's 3.1% conversion rate here, whereas 0.07% conversion. So this is clearly the champion, and this is clearly the best version of these two pages. So I can essentially say, okay, this page is not doing well. I'm going to delete that one, and then I'm going to try to test version A versus another version. Right. So again, you can get into your, you can go into your editor, and you can see here that I have a version A and a version B, and then I can create another version. So now I have a version C. And here I can then start to test another element. So instead of, maybe I should have a different background image, or maybe I should not have this like chat blocks here be blue. Maybe it should be a different color. And all these like small little tweaks, it changes the conversion rate. And even a 0.5% change in conversion rate can mean tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars at the bottom line for your business, right? So obviously this is extremely important to just keep testing, run a ton of A/B tests, and do this for your ads, and certainly do it for your website. Okay, I'm curious to hear what other, so we have still about 50 minutes or so, and we want to do a ton of Q&A. One of the things that we wanted to talk about as well is, and I know some of you have websites, or you're ready to launch your landing page. But one of the topics we also wanted to touch a little bit on today is how to get traffic to your website, which is obviously important, that you can have a great landing page up and running, but if nobody sees it, nothing happens. So it's important that we know how to very effectively and efficiently, from a cost perspective, can get some potential customers to see your landing page. So that's one of the things we want to talk about. And also I want to dive into how to nail an awesome .com domain for your business, because it's great you have a landing page you built here, but then eventually you want to be professional and you want to make sure to register a domain name that you can use for your landing page or for your business. But any questions so far? Feel free to unmute yourself or throw them in the chat. Otherwise, we're just going to keep cranking. But we want to make sure to tailor this workshop to be as relevant as possible. So if you have anything that you'd like us to cover, we will at least give it a shot. Not that we're the all-knowing oracles here and can't guarantee answers to any questions, but if we don't know it, we probably know somebody who will know the answer. Okay, cool. Nothing so far. So
I have a question.
Yes.
So let's say we build an app through a different vendor, like Glide apps. How would that integrate with your website?
So if you build an app, before you go ahead and build it, I would recommend, again, as I mentioned before, sell it before you build it, right? You want to test if that app is even valuable to people. And this is one of the very common problems, that people fall in love with this idea that, oh yeah, we're going to build an app for this. If you look at the App Store today, the vast majority of those apps are not making any money. Right? That's just reality. Like for every Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, what have you, there are like 1,000 other apps that have pretty much the exact same functionality and very similar sort of user interface and user experience, but they just didn't nail it. And they were not able to get enough traffic to that. But there's also like a gazillion different apps out there that are just trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. You're essentially solving a non-problem. So you thought that was a cool idea, but nobody else thinks it's a cool idea. So before you build the actual app, I always recommend running an ads experiment. So that's one thing we can try to look into today. Like, how can you actually run an ad for a product that doesn't exist yet? And then you can try to present that offering to potential customers that you're targeting, right? So you want to create a customer persona. So you have a very clear picture of who you're targeting. Right? If you don't know who your customers are, you're definitely not going to be able to sell anything. So you want to have a very clear picture of who's your customer, and then you can place that ad in front of those people, right? On social media, on Google, and you can see if anyone clicks on it. Because if nobody clicks on that ad today, they're also not going to click on it after you build the app. right? Or after you build that product. So it's just so much more efficient to test that out today. Like, is this product offering even valuable? And the next level of that is like, great, you create an ads campaign and you're targeting these active dog owners who like to run with their dogs, but they're concerned about their dogs running away. Or you're targeting high school teens who are struggling with math and they need a tutor, or whatever audience you're trying to target. You can get your ad in front of those people. And then you can see when they click on the ad, they will go to your landing page, which could be very well could be like a pre-launch or sort of page for your app, right? So you're planning on launching this new tutoring apps where you can find a peer-to-peer mentor tutor who's a student at a top school who's can help you with your college application or whatever it might be that you're launching. I had a team work on this last week. But essentially you can then have a sign up form, like, so to get in before you build the actual app, you can present this like, hey, we're going to launch this new app. And if you want to be one of the first people to know about it, sign up here. So that's how you could use it. You can't in relation to a Glide app or whatever. And also another thing we'll talk a little bit about in relation to digital marketing is the importance of list building and creating and sort of capturing people's emails so that you can continuously engage those early adopters. Still, no one has published their webpage. I guess you guys don't like free domains, huh?
I also just wanted to add in with the apps. If you go to Unbounce and look at some of those templates, you can see ones that are specifically there for apps. And you would, if you already have built the app, you would essentially create the link through of the button to take them to the App Store. And there's a place to have that image of available on the App Store underneath. And you can see, I think there's about 5 different examples of, or 4 different examples of mobile app pages that might provide some inspiration of what people are doing. They're not all sending you to download, as Henrik said. There's some that are sort of coming soon elements or features or more information for people who found it through the App Store and want to learn more. But yeah, there's other also that side. So I'd recommend also looking at those templates again.
Yeah. And one of the things we can talk a little bit about is this concept of lead magnets. Did you talk about that, Christina?
A little bit. We set up our pet health checklist with the email form.
Okay.
And so having people sign up within email.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's definitely a great way to sort of offer something of value in exchange for their email, because once you have the email, you can retarget them, or you can create lookalike audiences on Facebook, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff, and of course add them to your email list if they opt in. Because one of the things that's interesting in terms of marketing is that people don't buy stuff the first time they see your company. They usually make a purchase after running into your brand like 7 or 8 or more times. So that's why marketers today need to be consistent, like and persistent, and not just like placing an ad one time, but being able to continuously engage with people. Maybe they don't read your first or second or third newsletter, but on the 4th newsletter, they find something valuable and it's like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty cool. And then they go to your website and they still don't buy anything, but now you placed a cookie in their browser. You have what's called a pixel from Facebook. So now you can retarget people on Facebook and they keep seeing ads for your company. And then after 7 or 8 times, they actually feel like now they build up a trusting relationship with your company. And that's when they make a purchase decision. All right, cool. So I want to shift gears here a little bit, if you guys are ready for that. I want to talk a bit about the importance of having a good domain name for your web presence in general, for your company, but also for your landing page, and how easy it is to actually set that up. How many of you have a domain for your startup today? Or like a personal domain? No? Some of you do. Amy does. Prirana has, Tim has, okay. So some of you might have a portfolio of domains already. So in this day and age, as I mentioned in the sort of opening today, like there can be several different, there are several different TLDs. I think there are hundreds, so probably thousands at this point. I don't know, maybe John can add some clarification on that, how many we have, but there are many different versions versions out there. So after the dot, you can have .com, .net, .org, .edu if you're an education experience or educational institution. You can have, and then a lot of like some other like TLDs have started popping up, like .ai or .co or other things, and those are of course available to you, but at least there are different considerations around what kind of TLD you end up choosing. And the reason why I ended up engaging in this partnership here with Verisign and .com is that I've always felt that .com is just more universal. And then I started looking into this, and it's kind of interesting that I didn't know who like ran these different TLDs, but it turns out that some of them are run by somewhat surprising entities. For example, AI, like a lot of AI startups feel like, oh, it's really cool to have a .ai. But it turns out it has nothing to do with artificial intelligence. It's actually the Caribbean island of Anguilla, and is run, at least at some point, it was run out of some guy's laptop on the beach somewhere. I'm not sure who's running it today, but it's just like not necessarily as sort of reliable and trustable as you might think. So if you're building a startup and you want to make sure that you can access customer service and that page will be up and running all the time, choosing a TLD that's trusted and reliable and also just like recognized, so it builds some credibility, especially in the early days of a startup. A big part of launching that brand for you is building credibility. And in that case, having a .com, from my personal perspective, is definitely a good way to go. Then you're on the safe side. But then, of course, it comes the question, well, can I find a good .com? And the cool thing is that there's this new tool, a relatively new tool called Name Studio that I want you to try and play around with. So if you go to namestudio.com, and I want to challenge you to see if you can come up with best available, who can come up with the best available .com domain for our pet tracking business, right? So initially we talked about, I think you called it Pet GPS or something like that, Christina. So that could be one name here, but I want to just try to demonstrate how this tool works. So this is essentially a tool that allows you to instantly see which domains are in fact available. So if you initially had GPS pet or something like that, so we can see here that gpspet.com is taken. But here it suggests like available suggestions that are sort of related to this, right? So you can see gps-pets.com is available, but also gpspuppy.com is free. gpspup, that's actually a really nice short domain. .com is available, and GPS pet care, happy GPS pet. You can see all of these different ones, and they're available if they're like indicated with green. And you can simply then, if you're happy with one of these, like gpspup.com, you click get it, and then you can use different types of registrars. So there are many different domain registrars out there. I think there are 1,100 different ones that can help you register that domain, so that you essentially choose where that URL is, what it's going to point to. If it's going to point to your landing page, or it's going to point to your web page, and you can create, of course, a professional looking email. So now I can, if I go to name.com, for example, here, I'm directly taken to name.com, where I can register this domain for only $10 a year, right? So, or this is for like multiple years. If I just wanted, I have a couple of other ones here. If I just wanted gpspup.com for a year, I can get it for, I guess this is including some security, but it's like $15 total. Oh, I still have multiple items. Oh, I have this one too. If I wanted to have an email and stuff like that, but it's like literally like $10-15 to register a .com domain, and then you can have a professional email saying henrik@gpspup.com, right? Instead of Henrik84 handsome dude @gmail.com, right? So this is a great way to sort of start building your personal brand and your professional presence for your webpage. Okay, so that's how you register domains. I wanted to mention also that here on namestudio.com, you can log in with your social. So if you're building, for example, a personal website for yourself, this will help you just get more personalized suggestions for domain names. And then the other really cool tool that I like here, and check this out. So you can go into brainstorming mode, and here you can, it will allow you to play around with different types of words. So instead of, you can add a prefix, so it could be like safegpspet.com, and you can see here, congratulations, your domain is available. All the green ones are things you can add. For example, if you wanted, instead of GPS, you wanted safetrackingpet.com. If they're green here, it means that they're available. Right? So it's very easy to see which one's available and which ones aren't. And then you can add a prefix or suffix. Sometimes for certain types of companies, for example, if you were to start a bakery, right? A bakery business, you can see baker.com is taken, and there are many of these, like just like cheesecake.com is taken, baking.com is taken. But one of the things you can do, if, for example, it was, what do we have? Our bakery. You can add something like bakery, let's say Chicago, for example. So add something relevant to your city or to your location. So if that was, for example, bakerdetroit.com, this means that also for search engine optimization, if you want to get found, it can, of course, it's great to have a short domain name because it's more memorable and it's easier to mention on the phone. But more often than not, people are going to get to your link through an ad or through some link online anyway. So it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily always better to have a super short one. Sometimes having a long one will help you with search engine optimization and help just become more specific. So play around with this as well and see who can come up with the best sort of idea for our like dog tracking business or whatever you can come up with. So if you add puppytracking.com is actually available, and you can see again all the ones that are available and those that aren't. Superpuppytracking.com is a great URL. Okay, so I want to show you that because some people complain, oh, I can't find a .com. I actually played around with this for my previous company that we launched recently, and we wanted to launch an online agency that works with innovation, and innovation is one of those keywords that a lot of people have, but we ended up then playing around with this and ended up with innovatorsagency.com because we could just see what was available. Okay, animaltracker.com, good. Get GPS, get pet GPS, let's find your pet.com, nice. All right, just find fido.com, nice. Okay, awesome. Good stuff. Again, share in the chat or unmute yourself if there are specific topics you want us to cover. Maybe you have a website and you want some feedback. This is a great safe forum where you can get some feedback from a lot of people with different backgrounds, and we can try to go in and give you some specific suggestions for either lead magnets you could run or different experiments you could run or things like that. Otherwise, I will hand it over to you, Christina, and we will dive into a little bit of the world of sort of digital marketing and how to get some traffic to those pages.
Yeah, thanks, Henrik. So some of the things, a lot of times people are thinking, how am I going to get traffic to my website? I have to run ads. I have to spend a ton of money to get them there. And we will walk you through, and Henrik will show you sort of the Facebook Ads Manager and how targeted you can get with those tools, which is really helpful. But there's a couple things that you should do before you get there. One is to think about how people are finding you and think about the organic traffic that you can get just for free. So some of the things we like to do to take a step back from that, you need to know what kind of traffic you want, because you can get millions of people coming to your website, but if they're not actually the people who are interested in buying what you are selling, then that's sort of a vanity metric. It's not going to help you or help your business. So the key is to really refine your personas and really map out who your customers are. Sometimes I call these the cast of characters, but you really need to hone in and give them some life. give them names. How old are they? What apps are they most use on their phone? What gender do they identify as? Where do they live? Are they in cities? Are they in rural areas? And having that, and you can name them. Like I know some people I've worked with have like, there's Sophia and there's Lucy, and these are the people that they call upon regularly in marketing meetings to think about, is Sophia or Lucy going to care? Sophia or Lucy going to care about what we're building? And it's a good gut check to have, so that sometimes you're building something where you actually aren't the customer. And even if you are the customer, you should be thinking about the variations of what your customers can look like. So when you have that really clear, another exercise that I like to do is called the day in the life. So on a piece of paper, just writing out exactly what that person does from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. And the minutia of this, as like honed in as you can get, when they wake up, if they grab their phone, what is the app that they open? What are they looking at? How do they consume media? How do they consume content? What are they seeing on their way to work? Who are they interacting with? And really going step by step to understand where your customer already is and where you might be able to show up in relation to their day-to-day. So those are a few exercises to really hone into those markets and those individuals. Another one is search engine optimization. So you want to make sure that when people search for keywords for you, that you're coming up. This can be done through making sure that your Google listing descriptions and information are all filled out, that you have meta tags for all of your sites, and that you are essentially using keywords within your site that relate to what people might be searching for. Another great way to boost your status if you're a new site is to get it listed or linked on a site that does have some credibility. So this is where things like business directories or trade associations or other websites that have more traffic, if you're able to have a listing there and can put your link on that listing, that means that Google will sort of say, all right, well, I don't know anything about you, but I know that you're associated with these people and they're great. And so it gives you more credibility, and it'll mean you'll move up the ranks of Google thinking that you're a good solution for what people are looking for. Another sort of key thing around Google AdWords, you can run those. You can run them at sort of a pretty small budget. But the key thing that I would do is when you're thinking about their personas or what that painkiller language is, what problems are they typing into Google to solve those problems? So a lot of times when you think of keywords, you think of maybe one word. So it's like if you're selling shoes, you might think like, oh, well, I need to come up when people search for shoes. But that's not actually how people use Google. And so think about that full sentence that you might be putting into Google for people to find you. So it might be artisan leather boots, handcrafted in Canada, or something like and a lot of times people put in, if you have a service, they'll put in best or near me within that search terminology. So when you're mapping out your keywords, think about those long tail keywords that exist and that people are putting out there. Another key one is looking at, and to get to know what these questions are, if you're like, I don't know what people are searching for, you can go and look on places like Quora.com, which is like a question and answer forum, and just see what questions people are putting in there that are related to your industry and your business. It's a great place to sort of start and see really long tail questions that people are asking. Henrik, did you want to show the Facebook targeting? Because once we have these personas, you can sort of show that use case of how you might do that within a Facebook ad if you do decide to go for paid advertising.
Yes, sure. I was checking out Brian's website here, and there's lots of cool stuff. Also, getpedicure.com, shared by Shauna. Thank you. We can definitely dive into these and have a couple. I already added a few things here. Okay, so wanted to share. Let's see here. this is always dangerous sharing my personal Facebook here, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. So in your Facebook page, when you just go to facebook.com, right, out here on the left-hand side, you can click on this thing called Ad Manager. And if you've never run a Facebook ad before, you're not going to see a lot of things here. But the cool thing is that you can create a new sort of campaign with a new ad set on it. So you click Create. And I know there's a lot of functionality. Don't get overwhelmed. Just like focus on the basics here. So for example, if we're creating a new campaign, we need to choose what is the campaign objective. And for example, if we're trying to run a landing page experiment, the objective here would get traffic to our landing page, right? So the thing we want people to do after seeing the ad is clicking on that, and then they're being sent to our landing page. So we set traffic here. Right? You can also have, it could be engagement, app installs, it could be conversions if you click and have an actual conversion thing that's linked to the campaign, or messages on Facebook if you just want to engage with your customers. But let's see traffic. Click continue. And then we can call our campaign, what was it, gpspop.com, right? And we want to have an auction style. We can run an A/B test as well inside of Facebook. But for now, let's just click next and see here, choose where you want to drive traffic. And I want to drive it to my website, right? So eventually I'm going to put in my URL to this website. So when people click on the ad, they will be sent there. So don't worry too much about this. Drive conversions by creating a specific offer that people can save. You can do all kinds of things like that. Let's see. So here is some important stuff. What is your budget? So we can, and depending on your budget, the more money you spend, the more aggressively Facebook is going to place that ad, right? The more people are going to see it, right? So you can see here that right now my audience definition, and we'll get to this in a second, is like it's essentially everyone in the US. So there are 230 million people, Facebook users in the United States, okay? And then here, estimated daily results. So based on my daily budget and my audience targeting here, it will reach somewhere between 2.3 thousand and 6,500 people. And we estimate that this is the amount of links. But of course, this heavily depends on the quality of your ad. If you have a great ad that's highly engaging and with an awesome offering, it will be a higher click-through rate, right? And you can see if I change this to only $10 a day, what can I expect then? Like, okay, it will be a lower reach and lower link. But if I'm willing to spend $1,000 a day, then they estimate I can get a lot more clicks, right? So initially, I wouldn't recommend spending this much at all, depending on where you're at in your startup and how much money you've raised or have available. Like something like $10 or $20 a day will give you some traffic. And then you very quickly start iterating, right? You start figuring out what is the click-through rate on this ad, and you start running multiple ads, and you figure out, well, some of the ads have a better click-through rate, so they're converting more people. And then, of course, you're going to focus on those, right? You get rid of the other ones. And again, you have this mindset of testing, all the time testing new things, because this will affect one of the most important metrics for any entrepreneur, which is your customer acquisition costs, CAC, customer acquisition cost. And that is essentially how much does it cost you to get one new customer? Very important metric to understand, right? Because if you don't know what it costs you to get one new customer, you might end up spending way too much money. And ultimately, one of the key considerations is the two sort of most important metrics is LTV and CAC. LTV is lifetime value per customer. How much revenue will you generate per customer throughout the lifetime of that customer? Okay, that's a very important thing to know, because if you don't know how much money you're going to make on each customer, you can't possibly estimate how much money can you afford to spend on getting that customer in the first place, right? So if you spend $1,000 on advertisement and you get 100 new customers, your customer acquisition cost is $10. But if you're selling a $5, bracelet, that's not great, right? And people only buy one, then your lifetime value of that customer is $5, but your customer acquisition cost is $10. So you're losing money for every customer you get, and you need to change that. So that's why ultimately then we need to go in and figure out, we need to run some ads and figure out, like, when I spend these $20 a day, how many people click? And then ultimately we see from our landing page on Unbounce, we can see how many people who got to the page actually end up buying the product. But let's dive into this a little bit more. So after you say how much are you willing to spend, now we can start defining our audience. And right now we have eventually 18 plus years old, all genders, all demographics, interests, behaviors. Is that great targeting? No, it's not great targeting, because we're placing our ad to any random person on Facebook, which is really not ideal. So for example, here, if you were not in the United States, you're in, let's say, Denmark, for example. Let's see here. It even divides Denmark up into different areas of Denmark. That's random. Oh, I can just do Denmark, right? So now I have Denmark and the United States, and it's like I get rid of the United States. I only target people in Denmark. Turns out Denmark is a tiny little country of 5.5 million people. What's very interesting is that out of the 5.5 million people, you can reach 4.8 million of those people. So there must be an insanely high penetration for Facebook in Denmark. But then you can start to see how that affects the audience. But let's say, we go back here to United States. So we have a bigger audience. But I don't want to target everyone in the United States. I want to target those people who will be potentially buying my GPS tracker, right? So here I can go and say, well, age group. Well, it turns out most dog owners are actually over 20. So I'm going to do 20, and these old folks, they don't really go out with the dogs that much, so they're not going to be in my audience. So it's going to be from 20 to 60. And I can see now my audience has changed down to 190 million people I can target. Could it both be all genders? Yes, anyone could buy this, but I want to make sure that that I'm targeting people who are into dogs, right? So this, now I can indicate here that people who have somehow indicated they're interested in dogs. Maybe they've been liking posts by dog brands in the past. Maybe they've indicated that they have an interest in dogs. Maybe they've mentioned on their profile that they have a dog, or they're part of some group about dogs. So you can somehow, people that have an interest in dogs. So now it changes my audience from 190 million to 74 million. You say, like, oh, but Henrik, that sucks. Now I don't have as many people I can target. No, that's true. It's a smaller total addressable market, but these people are actually into dogs, and it's much better. But you have designed a GPS tracker that that is specifically designed for those who are runners. So now I can also add running. So now they have to be into dogs and running. Well, interestingly enough, so this is like either running or dog. So actually I did this incorrectly. So I can say here that I want to narrow the audience. So I can say dogs and must also match running. Okay, so now it should go down. So now we're down to 34 million people who are into dogs and also into running. Right? So now I can narrow it down, and I can say, well, actually, I found out that there's a much higher conversion for people who are in one of the major cities. So, I could also go into my location here and say, I only want to target people in New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles or Miami, whatever it is you want to do. But you can see here, this is a great way for you to just play around and also see what is your total addressable market. So you don't end up, building a product where there's a total of like 500 people in the world who are potential customers, because that's probably not going to be a very scalable business. Okay, so that was a little bit on Facebook ads, and it's a great thing to just play around with. Some of you probably have some experience with this. There's a similar sort of process for when you're running Google ads, although the consideration when running Google ads is that it's less about the demographic of the audience, and it's more about what they're searching for. And yeah, Christina, you have some perspectives also on like social media ads versus Google ads, and maybe you can share a little bit about that. That this like this a different level of intent behind people who buy on, like come to you from Google, right?
Yeah, well, I think because of the fact that Google ads are really targeted to people who are searching for specific things, there's a level of intent there rather than just interest. So when you're targeting to basically like demographics and interest groups within Facebook or Instagram, you're able to have images. It's a bit more awareness building, and it sort of relies a bit more on aesthetic. And so those can be great for content, great for awareness, great for retargeting to remind them about the products that they have in their abandoned carts that they've left behind. But Google Ads is something that they know they want to buy something or solve their problem that they're having. And that's a great way for you to sort of appear at the top of those lists when they go to do that. But I do see some people have posted their URLs. Henrik, I don't know if we want to go through some of them and offer live feedback if people are so brave.
Yes, feel free to go through some of those. And again, we have about 10 minutes left. So if there are any other burning questions for us, talk about your company, your startup, growth hacking, business models, domain registration, whatever is on your mind, we can dive into that. So don't be shy, just unmute yourself and let us know. But yeah, Christina, maybe you want to dive in and
yeah, so I'm just going to go through a couple of the websites you shared. This is, I believe this is Tim's. And so this is the Universal Stylist. At the moment, sort of the above the fold is very minimal, which can be a totally fine thing if that's the style you're going for. So I don't really have it, like you could be adding images. I do notice that you're adding a few videos and demos to go through. So if video is like part of it, or could be something and you want that movement, you can always use a video in the background to sort of have that initial feel like the website feels like it's alive when you get there. I will say having a video so soon without them knowing what it is a bit of a heavy lift for someone to do. So clicking and playing a video on some sites can be considered a conversion of something you want them to do. So you might want to give them, this is very much like a great sort of teaser site of like a little bit of information and coming really soon. But if you can give them a little bit more of what they're expecting or the relevance of this video to them, that could be really great. So even just having a title there that's like, watch it in action or see for yourself or something, if you've already given them a bit about what you are offering. These are great sort of like customer problems that you're addressing. Again, another video before we've had a little bit too much. So having to digest information through a video is a bigger ask. I love that these also, I think I'm clicked out of them, they turn around to give you a bit of those benefits and why they would want those. So again, I think what I'm missing is a bit of framing around this at the beginning. I mean, this is great to have a giveaway, and hopefully this goes to somewhere where you're going to get my email. Excellent. Enter the giveaway. And we have the video again, which is awesome. And then how do I get back? There we go. This is great that like you have a vision statement here, but it says that you want to be a part of that, of leading this change. What about online shopping is going to change, and how is it going to change, and what role are you playing within that? And the one thing here is that like this could be potentially within, still not within the footer, but still within the main copy of the site. And I would make this like really exciting. So it's like people who are online shopping, they love a good sort of like insider advantage. And so making them feel like become a VIP shopper, be the first to know, get exclusive discounts by signing up to be an early adopter. And then stay updated. You could have something like with the buttons, you can get really like fun with the copy that you use rather than just like, okay, which is showing a sign of consent for giving their emails. But you could have like, you could have keep me in the loop as your form button. You could have I'm in, if you're sort of framing it as this VIP community that they're entering by like being the first to know. or like I'm an early adopter or something. Like you can let them see themselves in that. But I think overall, like you kept the design really simple, which is great. I think I'm just craving a little bit more about what it means for me and what I get for using tests. But I think it's really good otherwise.
Thank you very much for your feedback, Christina.
Thank you for being brave to share it. It's always like, this is a very safe space. Meet Pedicure.
One afternoon before pitching to a first venture capital, I had to do a website, and it was one afternoon to just have something, upload it, and yeah.
Wow,
but thank you very
okay.
much for the tips. I will use them for sure.
Well, it sounds like if you spend just one more afternoon on it, then you'll have an amazing website. That's very fast and very impressive. That's awesome.
I just want to do a shout out to Andres, who actually launched an Unbounce page here, and there's a free domain for you, Andres, if you want it. To send me an email, and I'm happy to reimburse registration for a domain, because he actually built this cool page describing these new Sia towels for people who are on the go, surfers and campers, and they love this new beach towel. The call to action though is not active yet, so you want to make sure to link that to a form or to an email capture thing. But yeah, it looks great. The color scheme is nice, and all that stuff. A couple of testimonials here too. Cool.
I'm gonna jump into
go ahead.
more. I'll go really quick because I know we're at time. Getting close to time. 1 second. I want to make sure I have it ready. Okay, so we're going to go. So this one was just shared, but I did say I was going to go for 1 second. Pedicure first. So Meet Pedicure, great product shot at the beginning. The ability to shop now right up front, super great. A toenail filer designed for reach. Join the wait list to be the first in line for the product when it's released is great. It's sort of giving that urgency and that desire to be that insider and to get ahead of things. So outlining what the device has and how it works, great demo, learn more, opportunity to like find out a bit more. What makes us different? So the one thing here is that like these are sort of these are a combo of benefits and features. So you're talking about your patent pending design, safe and simple might be something that I care about as a user. Customized fit is something that the product has, but if you sort of pull that back to what it means to a user, customized fit might be the right cut every time, sort of never having that like uneven look, like always getting the perfect or like the perfect pedicure every time
and
is
not
something
getting pinched and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Safe and simple could be something like I would say like easy to use would be and get the job. So simple to push the button and get the job done. So I think like ease of use, sort of streamlined or guaranteed results and like effective results over each one. And anything else you can think that like might be something that what is the why for the user as to why they're purchasing this? These are great things about the tool itself, but putting them as the protagonists. Love the testimonials, love the like proof of backed by different logos. Anytime you can have something that gives a little bit of validation for folks, that's always great. So I think in general, it's a really solid initial page. And I would just maybe hone into if someone's thinking like, I know you said it's designed for reach. So is your demographic someone who has mobility issues? And then that should absolutely be upfront because people might be asking, well, why would I use this? Do I get a better sort of foot look? Or is it more about the idea that some people can't do this on their own and this is an accessibility feature? So I would definitely call out whichever one that falls into. Also, we have another shopping experience one that was shared with us. So I think this is a great initial start looking through. We have a how it works so people can understand, get some views. This is a video, I think. Yeah, this is a video. So one thing I would recommend anytime you have something that's a video demo, if you can make it into a GIF and have it be a shorter loop of something that just automatically plays, so they're starting to see stuff, you can have the full video demo, or like more information on different product pages, but on your home page, if you can get it to be something that's like they're seeing it in action just by scrolling, that would be great. This is a perfect example of that through an illustration.
Yeah, one thing on that though that I noticed is that it's a little cramped. You might want to space things out a little more. Actually, that if you scroll up a tiny bit, Christina, like that image there, just see the text is sort of overlapping it. I'll probably give that a little more space. And also at the very top, I noticed that under, if you hover over benefits, it's like a drop down, hover over benefits. Yeah, it dropped down. Again, you want to have a little more space there.
We can always do the ultimate test. So one thing that I'm noticing here, it might be because I'm sharing my screen, but it doesn't look like this page is responsive. So when I change my browser size window, the font doesn't appear to adjust within that window. So the same way that we saw in Unbounce, how you have your mobile view and your desktop view, my theory is that this might sort of show not compressed the same way for mobile. So you might want to be careful there. And I will point out, as we talked about, this is a we statement. So we empower apparel retailers by enabling their shoppers to realistically visualize the look and fit of any clothing item virtually and have a more confident, convenient shopping experience. If you're targeting apparel retailers, you can just talk directly to them and say, create a more confident and convenient shopping experience for your shoppers with realistic visualizations of look and fit of your clothing, or like integrate it into your e-commerce or whatever it is. You can speak directly to them rather than talking sort of esoterically about yourself and about what you do. I like a really big book a demo button, and like a let's chat is a great thing. And yeah, benefits to shoppers. I think, what are the benefits to the retailers? Because if your customer is a retailer, what are the benefits to them? Are they getting their average order value from their customers? Are they having more hands-off or more sort of first visit to the store checkouts and completion of orders? What benefits to their store process are you improving with this? Love call outs to sustainability. You have your retailers' benefits. I would definitely put those higher up on your site, because if that is your customer, then they do want to sort of inadvertently know what it means for your shopper, but they want to know about themselves as well.
All right.
Great.
We are pretty much out of time, and I know the Startup Grind team want to close us off. If you have any more questions, feel free to share in the chat. I also wanted to see if we have like a final. I think we have a final screen here. Cool. Yeah, but we also just want to say thanks a lot for tuning in today. It was really fun working with you over the last 2 hours. I hope this was a valuable experience for all of you, learning a bit more about digital marketing and growth hacking and domain registration and landing page designs. If you have any more specific questions, feel free to link up with Christina and I on LinkedIn. We can also share our email directly here in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And then over to Grace or whoever is closing us off today.
Yeah, you've covered it all. We're really appreciative of your time today. It was really helpful. I think everyone learned a ton today. And like we said in the chat, we'll have a recording of this session available in case you want to go back and remind yourself of different things that Christina and Henrik shared today. So thanks for spending your time with us today, everybody. We'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck with your startups.